Hi everyone, it's me. Welcome to another video. Today's gonna be really fun because we are doing another tier rank, and as you've already seen from the title, we are going to be bringing in all of the books on Goodreads that have a 5-star rating from me, myself, and I, and we're gonna tier rank them. We're gonna see if any of them still hold up. We're gonna see if all of them are truly 5-star reads for me still. I just feel like I've always been very relaxed with the books I give 5 stars to. If I read a book and I just feel happy about it in the end, I'm just like, you get a 5-star, and you get a 5-star, and you get a 5-star. And this is the year. 2024 is the year that I have decided to be a little bit more picky with what books I give 5-star reads. And so I feel like it's a good time right now to look back, reflect on all of the other books that I've given 5 stars, and see where we stand now. So I haven't been using Goodreads my entire life. I obviously read a lot as like a younger kid and a teenager and even a young adult, and I only started using Goodreads like in the past 3 years, I would say. So the books we're tier ranking today, for the most part, will include only books that I've read over the past 3 years. But that being said, there was one day a couple years ago I went wild on Goodreads and started just giving ratings to books I had read previously, and so you'll see just like some odd outliers in today's book list. Let's just get straight into it. Over to the computer. So our top tier is going to be reserved for books that have really truly stuck in my mind after all these years. I think about them every day. So our top tier is going to be called This Lives in My Mind Rent Free. Okay, so these are going to be like top tier books, like 6-star books, 7-star books, if that's even legal. Second tier is going to be for books that I do believe are 5-star books, but I haven't really thought of them that much. Like, I still think back on them dearly, and I think they do deserve the star rating, but they're just not like as active in my mind. So this tier is going to be called Holds Up. Third tier, what should we call this one? Okay, third tier is going to be for books that are great books, but I would say are maybe a 4-star book, maybe even a 3-star book, but books I still enjoy and would still recommend, but just like I was probably exaggerating, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna call this great, but I was exaggerating. Fourth tier is going to be books that I just feel nostalgic about, and for books that I probably wouldn't love if I read today, like they wouldn't really hold up, but because I read them at the time I read them, I still have a fond memory of that book, you know what I mean? So I have changed. Fifth and final tier is going to be for the books that I truly do not think deserve 5 stars, maybe not even 3 stars or 2 stars. This tier is going to be High Sage. What was I thinking? Okay, those are my tiers. We do need our books now, so let's load them up. 61 items, okay? And guys, from my last tier list video, I have learned how to change the shape of the thumbnail so they're not squares and we can see the full title. So all you have to do is click square images and change it to no crop. Magical. We're learning new things every day. So let's get started. Actually, I want to sort these a little better because some of these belong to like series and I want to make sure they're all together. So, okay, I think I've sorted them for the most part. So let's get started. First up, we have the ACOWAR trilogy, which is actually a series that I have very recently read. I actually finished Burning God, the 3rd book, like last week or like 2 weeks ago. So it's like very fresh in my mind. And I'm gonna say ACOWAR lives rent-free in my mind. Like, I am still thinking about this world, these characters, what happened to them. I'm gonna say ACOWAR and Burning God, that's the 3rd and the 3rd books. Top prime tier. And then Dragon Republic, which is the 2nd book, I really loved. I think it was a really good storyline, but I think it just dragged on a little bit, like a teensy bit in the middle there. So I'm gonna say Dragon Republic holds up and the other 2 live in my mind rent free because, oh my gosh, you guys, if you have not read, I don't know if that video is up actually yet. If my video where I finish a bunch of series is up on my YouTube channel, go watch it because I literally had a breakdown finishing the Burning God. So really entertaining if you like to see people like cry and breaking down over fiction. I feel like this series is just one of those series that like ascends fiction. Like the characters, the world just become more real than fake. Like they don't feel made up to me. They feel like real life people. And there are a lot of like dark, serious issues in the book. So check for trigger warnings. It is very heavy, but it is such a good book. This trilogy is by R.F. Kuang, by the way. Don't know if I mentioned that. Literally one of my top favorite series. Next up, we have Divergent. And this is one of the examples of like the book books that I read in my past that I just decided to go wild and like rate on Goodreads. I'm gonna put Divergent in I Have Changed. I think this was really great for the time, and I think it was a great read for when like we were a bit younger. Love the world, love the characters, love the plot, and it's still like, it holds a special place in my heart, but I do think if I read Divergent now, I wouldn't be as into it. Maybe. I also feel like my opinion could be tainted by just like how the series went on. Like Insurgent and Allegiant, I feel like the rest of the series just kind of went downhill, but I think Divergent itself, like the first book, was great. It was great for that era in my life. We have A Darker Shade of Magic next by V. Schwab, the first book in the Shades of Magic trilogy. I really love this book. It's another one that I read recently. I read it last month. Compared to Poppy War, these characters didn't like stick as hard. Like while I was reading this book, I was into it. I really enjoyed the characters, especially the villain characters, honestly, in this book. I feel like I love the villains more than the protagonists. But I'm gonna say this holds up. This is a solid 5-star book. It's not like a 7-star, but it's a 5-star, you know what I mean? We have the entire Harry Potter series. So obviously these are books that I read as a child, but I did do a full reread last year in 2023. So these are all very fresh in my mind. The first one I'm gonna say lives in my mind rent-free. This is where we got introduced to this world. It had all the magic. It was like, it was just like a revelation. Like when you enter this world and like you truly believe it's real. I still truly believe that a letter accepting me to Hogwarts was on its way to me, and it just got lost because of, what was it? What's that theory when people say, like, you know, in the Order of the Phoenix, when they go into the Ministry of Magic and then all the prophecies and like all the files and documents crash and like break? There's a theory that all the Muggle-born witches and wizards from a certain time period were just like lost to time. I was born in 1993 and my year was included in that range of years where files went missing, and so I'm going with that theory, and I am just fully living in my Delulu world, fully believing that I was supposed to go to Hogwarts, but my letter never came because of those files that got destroyed in the Ministry of Magic. That's just my reality. Okay, but we have to sort the rest of these. So the second book, I'm gonna say I was exaggerating just because I love this series and this world so much. I gave all these books 5 stars, but the second book honestly was not my favorite. Like The Chamber of Secrets, not my thing. Prisoner of Azkaban, I'm gonna say holds up. I really love the whole plot with like Sirius and like everything. It's so good. Goblet of Fire, rent-free. The Triwizard Tournament, Order of the Phoenix, I'm gonna say holds up. I feel like, honestly, if I did this tier ranking last year before my reread, I would put Order of the Phoenix in, I was exaggerating, but rereading this book as an adult, it hit in ways that it never hit as a child. So love that. Half-Blood Prince, honestly, I loved the Half-Blood Prince. So exciting. And then Deathly Hallows, also rent-free. Beyond the Wand, Tom Felton's memoir. I feel like it's so mean to like tier rank memoirs because that's just someone's real life experience. I'm gonna add a tier, I don't care. I'm gonna add a new tier, and it's going to be called For the Nostalgia. Because I fully enjoyed this book. I just loved it. I loved seeing his experience like as a child, getting cast in Harry Potter, working on set, dealing with like all sorts of things that came from that, all the pressures as a child with that amount of fame. And I love Tom Felton, you know? So I'm putting this in For the Nostalgia. I would still give it a 5-star because I don't know, it's always weird rating autobiographies and memoirs, isn't it? Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I'm gonna say Book Lovers holds up. I just love Emily Henry. I love her writing. I love the way she like pieces together a romance. I love the way she writes. So yeah, holds up. We have 2 of the ACOTAR series. These are my 2 favorite in the series, and so these are the 2 I gave 5 stars. I'm sorry, this top category is just gonna be so full. I feel like I'm just so nice when it comes to rating books. Coming from the person who said I'm gonna be more picky with my 5 stars this year. But there's nowhere else I could put these books. These characters are reality for me. The whole inner circle, they are not made up. They can't be. They exist out there. And so yeah, these 2 are just so good. The rest of the series, I would say I was probably exaggerating with the ratings, but these 2 books are so dang good. Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. I'm laughing because this is one of the books I read like I don't know, in high school or something, and I just decided to rate on Goodreads recently. This book just, it's so heart-wrenching, you know? I'm gonna put this in great, but I was exaggerating because I feel like to give this a fair tier rank, I would have to reread it just because it was so long ago, but I feel like it deserves to be at least like mid-tier, like positive mid-tier, so maybe it was a 4-star, I don't know. Nicholas Sparks' The Notebook, another one I read so long ago, obviously. I'm gonna say this lives in my mind rent-free. It's just untouched, The Notebook, like the whole story, and I feel like, honestly, I don't remember the book too much, but I remember the movie more, obviously, because I like rewatch the movie like almost every year, and this story just, it's The Notebook. That's all I have to say about that. Taylor Jenkins Reid, One True Love. This book honestly made me so uncomfortable because of the whole concept of it. I just felt like the main character was kind of cheating the entire way through the book. This is one of the books that I rated really highly because I felt so emotional at the end of reading it. But I will say, like thinking back on it now, I'm gonna say, what was I thinking? I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. I love her writing, but some of the concepts for her books I just don't agree with, or they just don't like rub right for me. Absolutely heart-wrenching. I felt for the main character and the situation she was in, but I just don't agree with how she went about her journey. And so this is gonna go in the what was I thinking category. The first one in that category. We have the entire Hunger Games trilogy. Hunger Games, rent-free. Catching Fire, rent-free. Mockingjay, what the heck was I thinking? I don't think I even enjoyed the Mockingjay at the time, but I just gave it a 5-star rating on default. And this is one of the books that I just like gave a delayed Goodreads reading on as well, but I don't know why I gave it a 5-star. I don't like Mockingjay. I don't like where the story went, and so that belongs in that category. More Sarah J Maas. We have Crescent City 1 and 2. House of Earth and Blood, I'm gonna say holds up. This is a solid 5-star book. I was really like hesitant about it at first because it was an urban fantasy and they had like phones and reality TV and everything, but I ended up really loving it. And then House of Sky and Breath, that final chapter in this book, I have not stopped thinking about it since I've read it, and we are so close to getting the next book. It's January 13th on the day I'm filming this, which means the next book comes out in 17 days, and I have taken days off work to read this book, and I'm going to do a reading vlog, so look forward to it, okay? The Things We Leave Unfinished by Rebecca Yarros. This book was so good. The way that the two timelines in this book like intermingled and connected and everything just fit together, it just holds up. Still a 5-star book. I don't think about it every single day, but I do think very fondly back upon it when I like see it again. Verity by Colleen Hoover. This is an interesting one. Okay, I did go through the coho phase that we all went through. Verity is the only book that I think really deserves a 5-star, maybe? I don't know. I think I would have to reread it because when I read Verity, my mind was blown. I was just so enthralled, so into it the entire time I was reading. I don't know if it still holds up though. If I compare it to a thriller that I like read now, I don't know. I'm gonna say maybe I was exaggerating. I would say maybe Verity is a 4-star. I do think Verity is Colleen Hoover's best book. At least it's my favorite book from Coho. And I think honestly she should write more thrillers. I know she loves the romances, but like she's a thriller writer, okay? The 5-Star Weekend by Ellen Hilderbrand, I'm gonna say holds up. I really enjoyed the story of this book, and I think what I loved about this book is that it followed like 40-year-old women, which as a 30-year-old myself, I just appreciate reading about older characters sometimes because a lot of like the fun books, or like the more fun books, are more YA, more based on people who are like 18 to 25. And so it's really fun reading about older people. And I thought this book was really well done. Like it captured the lives of these women in a very full, well-rounded, wholesome way. So Emily Henry, Happy Place, one of my favorite reads of 2023. I don't think I need to say anything more about this. Harriet and Wynne, just, they're my favorite like non-fantasy couple ever. Song of Achilles. Oh, this one's gonna be a tough one. I think this was a great book, but I think I was exaggerating. I think I gave this a 5-star because everyone else around me was giving it a 5-star and I felt peer pressured. I do think this was a great book, but it was also like long and drawn out quite a bit. I think it was great, but I think I was exaggerating. I don't think I would give it a 5-star if I read it again. A Little Life We're gonna put this in What Was I Thinking. If you read my 2023 year ranking wrap-up video, you will know my thoughts on this book, but it hurt. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, also by TJR. The thing is, I enjoyed this book, but I haven't thought about it since. So I'm gonna say great, but I was exaggerating. I would highly recommend this book. It was very entertaining. It really hit me at the time, but I think I've just since read better books that like deserve 5 stars more than this one. Where the Crawdads Sing. Oh my gosh. This video is so fun because I'm just thinking back to books that I enjoyed, and it's so positive and like it's just so positive and wholesome, like looking at this list of books that I have loved over the past few years. Where the Crawdads Sing holds up. So vibey, and the story was great. Pachinko, oh my gosh. I have not thought about this book in so long, but I want to put this in Lives in My Mind rent-free, even though technically it has not been in my mind. It just deserves to be in that tier. It was so good. If you haven't read Pachinko, it follows a family over the span of like 3 or 4 generations, and it's just this like epic saga. It's like a whole tale about this family, and it's like it really got me into Korean fiction, and it was just it just like it hurt my soul, but also like nursed my soul back to health and gave me a warm hug, and it was so good. Hotel Nantucket by Ellen Hilderbrand. I would say this book was really good, but I was exaggerating. I think I would give it a 4 star if I were to re-rate it again. I liked the 5-star Weekend more, I think. A great solid 4-star book. I loved Hotel Nantucket. It really made me want to go to Nantucket, and I still need to go to Nantucket at some point in my life because this island just sounds magical. Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig, the second book in the One Dark Window Shepherd's King duology. I'm gonna say this book holds up. I really like this book, and it deserves 5 stars. So gothic, so moody, you know? Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I'm gonna be honest, when I gave this a 5-star rating on Goodreads, it was more like a 4.5, but I rounded up to 5, so I'm gonna say great, but I was exaggerating just because it wasn't truly a 5-star read for me. It was very good, but it wasn't like, it didn't ascend to that level. So a 4.5, which is still really good. Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. This book holds up. It was one of my favorite books of 2023 as well. I read this earlier in the year, and it was just such a heartwarming story. I wouldn't say it lives in my mind rent-free because I really haven't thought about it since I've read it, and it didn't ascend to Pachinko levels, but it holds up. It's a 5-star book. Another one from my younger adolescent days, obviously, The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. I'm gonna put this in for the nostalgia. I really loved this story. It made me sob, it made me cry. Fun story, I used to want to be an actor when I was younger, and I did like the whole auditioning thing, and I don't know, I probably got like a few minor jobs, but like nothing big. But I went to this like acting school, and we had to do monologues, and for my monologue I decided to do the obituary that, what's her name, Hazel? I did the obituary that Hazel does in The Fault in Our Stars, like when she does it when, what's his name, the guy, when he's like still alive, but he's like, I want to hear what your speech would be for me, which is like absolutely like, oh, heartbreaking. But I did her monologue in this like drama class. So fun fact about me. That's The Fault in Our Stars. Okay, the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy by Stephanie Garber. Love this series, okay? Once Upon a Broken Heart, I'm gonna say holds up. I think this was a solid 5-star read. Ballad of Never After, I'm gonna put in This Lives in My Mind rent-free because holy heck, this book was, it was something else. And then A Curse for True Love, I'm gonna say, honestly, I was exaggerating. I think it was more of a 4.5-star book for me, same as Six of Crows. It was very good, but I do agree that something was missing from it. And I always say that A Curse for True Love should have been 200 pages longer, and I stand by that. If we had those extra 200 pages, this would be in the holds up tier, or maybe in the Lives in My Mind rent-free tier even. The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. I don't know what it is about this book, you guys. It was a standalone book, but for some reason it really hit me in all the right places, and the ending kind of broke my brain a little bit, and I think that's why it lingered in my mind a lot longer than it would have. This was the first book I read from Adrienne Young, and seeing this on my tier list is reminding me that I need to read more Adrienne Young books because her writing was so moody and so beautiful, but the plot was also so good, and it also broke my brain at the same time. So yeah, if you haven't read The Unmaking of June Farrow, go read it. I loved it. Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. I'm gonna say this book was fun, but I don't know what I was thinking when I gave this book a 5 stars. It really isn't a 5-star book. It's like a good old 3-star rom-com fun beach read, but I think I gave this a 5-star on Goodreads because I, at one point in my life, was just like a default author star rating person, girl. I don't know what words are coming out of my mouth right now. I was kind of in the mindset that like anything Christina Lauren I would just give 5 stars on default, and that's why I gave this book a 5-star rating, but I really think this was probably more of a 3-star book. I don't know what I was thinking. Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross I just read 2 weeks ago, and this lives in my mind rent-free. It was so good. The way that like the letter writing connected to the first book, so good. If you haven't read the Divine Rivals duology, just read it, okay? The Caraval series. They're doing some like roofing piping work in my place right now. I don't know if you guys hear that. I hope the audio doesn't pick that up, but I'm just gonna keep filming. Okay, focus. Caraval, I'm gonna say great, but I was exaggerating. I would say it was a 4-star. Legendary, what was I thinking? And finale, I'm gonna say I was exaggerating. I didn't like Legendary. I know a lot of people who read this trilogy really like Tella and Legend as like the couple of this trilogy, but I honestly liked Scarlet and Julian a lot more. I don't know, something about Tella and Legend didn't like reach me the same way Scarlet and Julian did, and Legendary was really focused on Tella and Legend, so I don't know, I feel like I didn't enjoy that one as much as the other ones. Daisy Jones and the Six. I'm gonna say this book holds up. I loved the format of this book, how it was like interview style. I know some people really didn't like that about it, but I did. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V. Schwab. Ugh, this holds up. I don't think this lives in my mind, but it holds up. Okay, we have a chunk of the Throne of Glass series. I think it's just Throne of Glass and Tower of Dawn that I didn't give 5 stars from this series. I don't know what it is about Crown of Midnight, but I think it's one of the best books in the series. I don't know why I love it so much. Heir of Fire, we're gonna say holds up. Queen of Shadows, one of my faves. Empire of Storms, I think holds up. It was a little long, but I think the ending of this book made up for it. And then Kingdom of Ash lives in my mind rent-free. The way that this story ended and how everything tied together is just like genius. I would never be able to write something like this and have everything tie together so beautifully at the end of it. I don't know how Sarah J Maas does it, but yeah. In the Likely Event by Rebecca Yarros, another book I read recently, so I'm gonna say this holds up. It just made me cry. When a book makes me cry, I just have a higher tendency to give it 5 stars, because like if a book really hits you in the feelings so hard that you shed literal tears, it has to be a good book, right? Like it did the job. Where like when I read a book and I don't feel anything, that's when I'm like, this was maybe 2 or 3 stars, you know? Okay, we're getting to the end here. Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. I'm gonna say this was great, but I was exaggerating. Another book that I would say was a good 4-star read, but at this point, after reading more books, maybe this isn't a 5-star. I don't know, maybe it is. Babel holds up for sure. R.F. Kuang is just so smart. She writes books for smart people, and Babel, I think, was written for people like slightly smarter than me, especially in the world of like linguistics, languages. I'm not smart in that way. I didn't study that, so I don't really get it so much, but the way everything was just like crafted in this book was so good. Mad Honey by Jodi Picoult, and who was this collabed with? Jennifer Finney Boylan. It was a collab book, which I think is really interesting when 2 authors come together. I think I really enjoyed this book as I was reading it, but I think I was exaggerating. When I look back on it, I'm like, it was good, but it wasn't a 5-star. So there's that. The Silent Patient, I think, holds up. The plot twist at the end of this book was like, it holds up. And okay, now seeing The Silent Patient in the holds up category, I agree that Verity deserves to be in the exaggerating tier, because I don't think those books belong in the same category. So I think I was right for putting Verity there. Okay, and then we are ending with Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. I know these books sometimes get a lot of criticism because of the writing, but I can't get my mind off these books. They got me so addicted. Their emotions are my emotions. I think one of the biggest criticisms about Rebecca Yarros is her writing. Like, she doesn't have the most structurally beautiful, technically crafted writing, and I agree with that, but I always just say like her writing is more conversational. She's really just like telling you a story as if she's sitting in front of you having a conversation, like telling you about her life or like other people's lives. Her writing is just very digestible. Yeah, it's not like the most poetic or beautiful or whatever, but I think the way she tells a story really, I don't care if her writing is good or not, to be honest. And that's definitely a controversial opinion. Something that tears like the book community apart is people who like really value the writing and then people who really value the story. I'm definitely a story plot driven reader where writing becomes almost kind of secondary to me. Like if there's very obvious mistakes like spelling errors, very obvious grammatical issues, that really does bug me. But in terms of like how sentences are crafted and the art of it, I feel like that's not really my main priority when I'm reading a book. I'm there for the story, I'm there for the journey. And if the writing is beautiful, that's like more of a secondary bonus for me. But yeah, Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, loved both of those books, and I'm still thinking about our characters' journeys. But there we have it. That is the tier rank of all of my 5-star reads on Goodreads. Honestly, a lot less controversial than I thought. I guess my tastes haven't changed too much because the majority of these books are in the top 2 tiers, which I think is a really good sign. I'm really happy about that. Anyways, I'm gonna leave you guys here for now. I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did enjoy it, please leave me a like and a comment. If you don't know what to comment down below, let me know if there's anything else you would like to see me tier ranking, because I find these videos really fun to film. If you like me, subscribe, do that bell thing, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!